News Corp's car of the year is the BYD Shark 6. It's Chinese, hybrid and a ute. Other top cars this year included the Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the People's Champion, the Ford Mustang. I caught up with News Corp's head of motoring, David McCowan, a little earlier.
There's a few different elements to this. One of them is definitely the price. This is a very affordable vehicle. It costs less than $58,000 plus on-road costs are about 61 grand in your driveway. That is a really sharp price, and what you get for the money is extraordinary. Yes, the interior is absolutely loaded with features. You've got heated and cooled seats and a big screen and sat-nav and all that sort of stuff. But more importantly, under the skin, this thing is totally revolutionary. Most utes have a 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine. This thing has electric motors front and rear and a big EV battery in the middle of the car, but it's not a conventional EV. It also has a turbo petrol engine that basically works as a bit of a generator, so you can fill the thing up with petrol and drive interstate, no problems, or you can treat it like an EV and drive around town. It's powerful, it's economical. It's a really good solution.
Yeah, because one of the big fears for a lot of Aussies around the electric utes is the range, but that's not the case, obviously, with the BYD Shark.
No, not at all. No, the range is like 800-900 kilometres if you fill it up with petrol. And then when you need to stop again, you can just fill it up with gas. You do not need to worry about charging it as an EV. But if you do have home charging set up, like for solar and that sort of thing, you can absolutely treat it like an EV and drive about 80 kilometres or so without using any fuel at all. So if you do the school run Monday to Friday, every day without burning any fuel, great. And then on the weekend, you can go away camping, drive wherever you need to go, using a bit of petrol.
What's it actually like to drive?
It is the most quiet and refined ute I've ever experienced, which is saying something, because I've been doing this for a long time and have driven pretty much every ute on sale. It creeps around like an EV, like a hybrid, and it also, like some of those cars, has really good instant pickup. You've got 321 kilowatts of power in this thing, or you can tell your grandpa it's like 450 horsepower. It's heaps. It's heaps. It's really quite quick into straight lines, faster than like a Ford Raptor or something like that, which means, it's silent, it's smooth, it's pretty punchy. It's a good thing.
I've only seen one so far on the streets. What do you think sales are going to be like over the next 12 months?
They are very, very new, and I think sales are going to be quite strong. They're holding about 4,500 deposits for the car, and they're only just starting to reach customers now. So I do think this thing is going to be a bit of a hit. Also because there are some massive incentives in place for plug-in hybrid vehicles for the next few months too.
All right, another car on the list, Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid. What's to like about that?
So the Santa Fe Hybrid came second in our car of the year testing. It's a really impressive vehicle. Now, this thing doesn't reinvent the wheel in the same vein as the Shark, but it's just a really great family SUV. It follows cars like the Kia Sorento and the Toyota Kluger. It's a big 7-seater. The difference here being that it has a super efficient hybrid engine. It's only a 1.6 litre engine in this thing, and it uses about as much fuel as something like a Mazda 3 or a Toyota Corolla, despite being a 2-ton 7-seat SUV. It's a really clever vehicle.
Price point of the Shark, $61,000. What about with the Santa Fe?
It's a little dearer, but there's different models that you can choose. If you want to go full on like pseudo Range Rover, you can spend 80 odd grand on one if you really want to go hard, or you can spend a bit less for one with cloth seats and whatnot.
Do you think the hybrid is going to become a real growth point for the Australian market? Obviously, people do like electric vehicles, but they kind of want the safety of having the petrol engine as well.
Yeah, I think hybrids make a lot of sense for the majority of people. People like to think that they are going to drive across the outback and across the Nullarbor and tow the huge boat and do all of that sort of stuff. But realistically, most people only do a few thousand Ks a year, and their average journey is only 20 odd kilometres, that sort of thing. Hybrids make a heap of sense for that, particularly if you do live in a capital city. Anytime you're moving under about 50 Ks an hour, hybrids are absolutely in their sweet spot. So for most people, they make a whole lot of sense.
And I guess one of the downsides is the hybrid system does require a battery, so you sometimes have less boot space in some cars.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. We saw that with the Toyota Prado. It's why it didn't quite make it into the top 3 car of the year, because they have put a mild hybrid system in the car and they've moved the spare tyre under the tailgate, which basically means there's no boot space in the car. It's pretty disappointing.
Ioniq 5 is also on the list. What's so good about that?
It's the first EV, you can see the smile on my face, it's the first EV that's really gone after petrol heads. This thing is an absolute crack up to drive. It's got nearly 500 kilowatts of power, does 0 to 100 in like 3 seconds. So it's, it's the sort of speed that rivals sports cars like the Porsche 911, but in a much more practical, family-friendly body. The thing is so much fun to drive, but it is a bit expensive at about $125,000 drive away.
But you are competing with the likes of the Porsche, or maybe not Ferrari, but you're kind of at that speed level on the market. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the really interesting things about EVs. Sure, people are worried about range anxiety and all that sort of stuff, but they are democratizing performance, basically. There's a couple of EVs that came out in the last year or so in the MG4 X-Power and the BYD Seal that both do 0 to 100 in 3 point whatever seconds for less than $80,000, which is really quite punchy stuff. 20 years ago, that would have been absolutely insane to think about. Whereas now, there are some of these EVs that bring incredible performance for an affordable price. The 5N steps it up. This thing has proper brakes and suspension, and it's got really grippy seats, and they've really put a lot of effort into engineering the car to perform on track. So if you are an enthusiast, that is the first EV you want to be looking at.
And for the Shark, I understand you can just plug that into a regular power point, but for the Ioniq 5N, you kind of would want to have a proper electric charger at home.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the cars like the Ioniq 5N has a battery that offers, 450, 500 kilometres of range. That, if you plug it into a regular power point, is going to take like 3 days to charge. Yeah. You're not going to do that. Anyone that's investing into that kind of car will 100% be buying a wall box at home for about $2,000 so that they can charge it much quicker.
And the People's Champion, what was it?
There's absolutely the Ford Mustang. So we had an online poll in a preview story basically saying these are our 9 finalists. What would your pick be? And of more than 20,000 people that responded to that, the Mustang was far and away the favourite with nearly 30% of the vote. People still do love a traditional V8 muscle car. Yeah,
we obviously had the Bathurst 1000 recently, and you don't really see the Ford or the Holden anymore, but the Mustang's there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great car.
Oh, look, David McCowan, Head of Motoring at News Corp. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.